Hello and welcome to our discussion today around the importance of business planning and budgeting and how that integrates with an organization's sustainability agenda. So I'm Paul Funnell from Mastek, and today I'm pleased to introduce two speakers for today's session. I have with me Mike Pearson, a program manager from the Link Housing Group, and Simon Instone, one of the solution advisors at Oracle. Over the next 45 minutes or so, we hope to provide you some useful insights into the challenges, delivery stages, and ultimate benefits of investing in a new business planning program and the technology that underpins that. So just a quick bit of insight for those of you who haven't come across Mastek before. So we're a global consulting business focusing on solving complex business problems for our clients. And ostensibly, we use the Oracle application suite to do that. We find the best way of working is collaborating with our clients, and we aim to encourage maybe common ways and practices and ways of working, providing innovation, and also leadership from the perspective of technology investment and hoping build sustainable platforms from which our client organizations can grow and ensure profitability. So appreciate you all joining today. We always like to find out why people have joined. So I'd like to kick off, if I may, with a short poll question. So that question will pop up if you wouldn't mind selecting one of the options for me. Just give that another 10 or 15 seconds for people to have a chance to. Let me introduce our primary speaker today, Mike Pearson from the Link Group. Mike, if you could give us a quick 30-second introduction of yourself, and we could then have a look at what you guys have been doing at Link over the last couple of years or so.
So thank you very much. I'm very appreciative of being given the opportunity to be part of this event today. So really thank you very much from Oracle and from Mastek as well. So what we've been doing the last couple of years is looking at our need for changing our organization in terms of leveraging good ideas and leveraging technology to make it possible for us to be better and faster and more able to give us a position on the information that we generate as part of operational business every single day, every single hour of every single day. And not least because we service a bunch of important services, which include delivering development of houses and development and repair and maintenance of properties for a bunch of folks across, for 10,000 people, our customers across Scotland. And some of those people are more vulnerable for a wide range of reasons to the weather, not least. And we've got to therefore make sure that at all times we maintain safe and secure homes. And while we're also very keen on sustainability, because our strategy is across a 30-year timeline, which is why in front of you just now you've got the assessment of our thinking last couple of years, and our delivery has been to think about not least from 2019 but right through to 2050, so we can understand what the sustainability profile looks like across environmental sustainability itself and not least governance topics. For us, the strategy is to really look at the future as well as the current servicing. So I'd like to go to the strategy slide, please. So in order for us to have implemented partially, but in a good way, successfully over the last couple of years, we had to do some diagnosis of what we were good at and what we're not so good at and what technology could empower us to be better at. And part of that was we had a lot of reliance in 2019 and 2018 on manual data collection. So in a nutshell, that's fingers and toes typing information into Excel while we're on a customer call or on a customer visit. So we needed to get better at capturing data. We also have regulatory pressures, not least because of the sector we're in. The public sector is, of course, carefully and heavily regulated, make sure that we do deliver services to a wide range of needs across Scotland. Make sure, touched on it a minute ago, make sure things are safe and secure right throughout the lifetime of the properties that we offer to people and provide to people. And of course, we needed to make sure we understood how we could articulate and be good at analysis of answers to regulatory questions. And to some extent, that automatically gives the diagnosis piece the need to digitize it, to electronically transform information from manual processes and being onerous and hard work for people to do, and replace that with, or supplement that at least with the technology tools. So in terms of outputs, we're looking for a digital transformation strategy, which we've implemented. As you can see there, phase 1 was implemented in 2020, and I'm delighted to say successfully via the Oracle choices and the Oracle business partner Mastek. We also got recommendations in terms of from our community. We have a sort of user group community of public sector people that use a wide range of platforms and do the same sort of services across the UK, not just Scotland, and they were able to advise us as well on their experiences and pitfalls and opportunities to choose various technology solutions and various partnering solutions. And as part of our long-term 30-year vision, we understand the need to just get better and increasingly better and have a continuous improvement mentality for transformational change. So therefore, the idea of a digital solution was a kind of no-brainer. You add all that together, but last but not least is the implementation of further phases beyond 2020 into 2021. And of course, as we talk now in 2023, we're continuing and successfully continuing by adding on more services that are funneled through the technology. So as part of our strategy to do that, beyond assessment, we participated in the workshops that I talked about. We made sure that we were able to be vocal and transparent in terms of answering difficult questions that were asked of us, and in turn asking difficult questions of those that had gone down similar journeys. We had to workshop it more honestly and transparently to make sure that we really did explore what was the art of the possible for us, not least in terms of spend, but also in terms of resources. We had a key definition of our strategies, which means we needed to reduce manual tasks and manual intervention. We needed to reduce bi-directional processes and try to get one and done processes built into our initial phases and then our subsequent strategic phases. And we of course needed to leverage or get business value so we could have a full understanding of transparency to report to regulators, and to also transparency in the team so we could operationally know where we were at any moment in time in terms of how successful we're being day on day, what our KPIs were, what our metrics look like. And the best way to do that is to capture the data and to act upon it and leverage it. So,
Mike, I know the next phase we'd be talking about actually is more into the implementation side of things. And I know one of your challenges, data collection is one piece, and actually one of your challenges was where's this data coming from? So I think let's ask the audience actually how they think they do their data collection. So a second poll question we have is trying to understand where you're getting your data sources from. Not only from an operational perspective, but again, from an ESG or a sustainability program perspective. So we'll pop the question up again for another 30 seconds or so. Great, Mike, I'll hand back over to you and let's get back into the slide.
thank you very much. So on the back of what you said there, Paul, and the question you asked there in terms of the poll question, we absolutely had to take care of the integration aspects of our data, where the data comes from, how we combine it with or without Oracle, so going back to previous years, but how we wanted to build an Oracle pipeline or a data collection pipeline that was about digital transformation, and how we were able to, through a range of governance and government operated panel procurement cycles, we were able to choose the partner Oracle in terms of a vendor solution because of peer reputation and likely to be around in the next 30 years, and at the same time choose through various tenders and invitation to tender processes they're a solution partner for Oracle Mastek. So that meant that Mastek helped us with the design of what we were wanting to do in terms of how it would fit into our integration of operations and technology that we had already, which is kind of on screen now, the high level system architecture. We needed a degree of reports and reporting, but at the same time with the opportunity and ability and via Mastek's design to kind of glue those things together. So there's a kind of family or a grandfathering of the reporting and to some extent a curation of the data. And therefore, all of that was part of us in Link Group achieving our desired outcomes. We needed, of course, reliable task management, which meant hit the dates, hit the outcomes, hit the expectations. And we also needed to make sure we maintained an eye on the operational efficiency that was being achieved kind of quarter on quarter. And I'm glad to say that the reason I'm talking today is that we have had a great couple of years in terms of the partnership with Oracle and Mastek, and we intend to do that forward, going forward for the next at least 5 years. So we have a strategic focus based on the back of a successful implementation and a successful degree of comfort brokered through hard work from all parties. And therefore I can absolutely report here and now that it's been a great partnership success, can now and long may it continue into the future. So where we get into the sort of adoption conversation beyond simple technology implementation. So if you kindly take me to the adoption slide, Paul, that would be appreciated. So adoption for us simply means the idea that the operational people, the people that do the day job, the people that generate the income, and their success is measured not least in terms of customer satisfaction, but also in pace, in change, and in the quality of the KPIs delivery that is on everybody. So it meant that we very much wanted to make sure that training was right, training was appropriate, and training was indeed absorbable or understandable. So part of the training that Mastek helped facilitate was the idea of a seamless integration of the processes that affected operational processing. And that meant we would get some technology and human capital investment and empowerment by the training actually working and making us a more efficient team, an effective team. A data-driven future is an interesting challenge and was an interesting challenge, and to some extent will always remain so because of the increasing understanding and awareness in the business of how important data is to the world and to us all as individuals and as citizens. Data curation and data security are very important. So we needed to make sure that everyone understood that by capturing data and by utilizing data, we had a sort of high responsibility to maintain regulatory control over data. So that true was part of the training, not just for the operational training. Mastek and Link Group expect a long-term partnership, and indeed we're contractually signed up in a good way for the next couple of years based on...
I think it's 2025, is that right, Mike?
That's right, 2025.
Yep.
That's right. So we're very happy that we've done that, we've achieved that together, and very happy that we're looking forward to more change 2023, etc. and beyond. So fundamentally for us, it's meant that we've got tremendous business value from the partnership. We've improved understanding and measurability of our value and what we do for each other in terms of servicing our clients, and not least servicing the operational teams, making it faster and easier for them to do their work. We've not least made sure that business improvement is captured as an outcome part of KPIs, and we've increased an awareness and understanding of our strategy. Strategy for us includes promises made to regulators, promises made to investors, and promises made to people that are our peers in a community that represents the public sector.
Excellent. Mike, I know you're going to explain a little bit more about subsequent phases and obviously the longer term success goals that you've got. And I think I'm right in saying, Mike, whilst a lot of organizations now are just starting on the journey, you've kind of, as a housing services group and an industry, have been doing this for 50 or 60 years. So the word sustainability is not necessarily a new word for you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, sustainability has always been core to our mantra or mission, because fundamentally, if you buy a electronic product, say you buy a camera, you might expect a 12-month warranty. If you inhabit a home, if you're a renter or you're a person that's got a property, you've got a 25-year, a 30-year expectation that you're going to be in that home, and therefore it's got to be fit for purpose at all times. And your needs might change, but our ability to sustain your changing needs and sustain the marketplace and the world changing has always been the case. I mean, I think 60 years ago was the adoption, for example, of making sure that there was no lead in water pipes produced or provided in homes. So that's a distant memory. None of us, I think, are old enough to remember the literal experience of that, but we do remember from history books that was a case once upon a time. So we kind of constantly stay abreast of regulatory changes and the right way to sustain human life in terms of via properties and the property services, electricity regulations and all that good stuff is part of our story too.
One of the key things there is that word journey, isn't it? You know, this is not a project that starts, is delivered and then is forgotten about. This is about continuity. It's about that longevity of journey. So let me hand back to yourself to close out.
So the kind of top line or processes are already achieved. So the 2021, 2022 story that John was telling, we've already achieved that in the context of, for example, the finance control. However, the journey that we're embarked on, let's say at least in next steps for finance, is to get better and more grasp or more awareness of how good we are at delivering the services to a very, very high level of detail, or a low level of detail, if you see what I mean. So the idea that we can kind of count where the fire extinguishers are, and the idea we can count the contents of certain kinds of adhesives that we use, because as life turns, you know, regulators have more mandates on the kinds of adhesives that can and cannot be used in people's homes. So we just get better at data handling, better at data control, and better about leveraging services from the data. And it's not all about data, but it's about the operational processes that lead us to be able to grasp and report on that information. But capturing the data is part of our day job in the process of servicing customers. But fundamentally, the sustainability includes making sure that we are improving ourselves and improving the services, and doing that through efficient use of resources, effective uses of resources, knowing when we've improved, understanding data to the nth degree sometimes, and at the same time throughout enhancing our own experience as operational teams and enhancing customer experience, and to some extent future-proofing as much as the eye can see. We can't predict the future, but we can predict some degree of the future because of our long time in the sector. And not last but not least is the idea of business value. So sustainability standards are true in Scotland and are true across the world. We have already said, but a 6-decade legacy, and we intend to maintain that and keep that going in terms of we just get better and more credible as we go. Environmental challenges, sustainability challenges, government and governance challenges. More recently, a sort of terminology buzzword, but we've been at it for a long time. And then we have that comprehensive approach and that comprehensive journey-based approach that says this is the game we've been in, this is how we embarked on, and we continue through to that journey.
In our lives as well, we try and combine people, process, and technology. And actually, all of those three strands are important in the delivery of programs. I know you've been doing this for many years yourselves. So Mike, one question, and I think you alluded to it during your presentation, but this idea of what does good look like? So how did you actually decide within the Link Group what good was going to look like?
So in the early days, we realized that everything that we did in the people space which meant customers and operational teams, and to some extent C-level execs to understand how to roll and run their business based on the information coming in.
Yeah.
But we're better, and that we needed to kind of understand increasingly the opportunities that we could do. So we realized what we needed to find out, and realized we needed to break down and workshop how those milestones could be achieved. Processes were very key to that, of course, too, because fundamentally we do work every day, and armies of folk in Link do work for the 10,000 of our customers. And last but not least, all this is leveraged through technology, i.e. the idea of more automation, less human or manual intervention accelerates the time. So we just broke it all down across the three strands you just mentioned there, and start to sort of paint a plan and paint a transformational journey that said, this is what change could look like for us, based on still the need to be prudent with the investment, the costs, and timescales.
Excellent, Mike. As I say, really appreciate you giving up the time for this. Now, I'm sure it's been very interesting and enlightening for some folks. I know there are some questions popping up, so I think we've got some time at the end, so there may be a few more questions for you to have a look at. We've mentioned the word technology there, and technology makes up part of our third poll question. So if we could pop up that third poll question. So the idea again around this one is, kind of as we've said, where has data come from? How are people storing it? Are the islands of information through Excel still the hub that people use, or are there applications and pieces that people are using? So I'll let that roll for another 10 or 15 seconds or so. Now, finally, I'll hand over to our second speaker today. We talked technology there. Mike's obviously talked about the business aspect and engaging the business side of things, but underpinning all of that is the technology and applications required to make these things enabled and to happen, and to be automated where possible as well. So I'm very pleased that I've been able to secure Simon Instone, one of the Oracle solution advisors, for half an hour or so today. So Simon, thank you for giving up some time. If you could just give us a quick introduction of yourself, and then I know you've got a little bit of insight to show around the Oracle application suite.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Mike, thank you so much. That was just a wonderful story. And I guess I'm just going to lift the bonnet, as it were, just to go underneath the sort of Link group and look at some of the technology. Yeah, I'm a strategy director here at Oracle. I work within the applications business, and I focus on the ERP. So in layman's terms, think of the solutions that you might typically have for the finance function. For those of you who are not familiar with Oracle, we are a bit more than a database company, although that's where our originally started. But we provide quite a range of capabilities, both at an applications and an infrastructure level, and all pretty much now provided as a cloud service or software as a service, whatever term you like to use. So, we have some very specific industry applications. You can see a few names there for financial services, healthcare. Anyone who knows about the Cerner acquisition, that's a big, the latest move we have in that area. The middle area, which talks about Fusion applications or Fusion cloud applications, that's the area I sort of live in. I work on the ERP and the EPM side of the business, but we have solutions for our supply chain, for human capital management, and for sort of customer experience advertising. And Mike, you made a great point about sort of transparency of data. Fusion Analytics and Fusion Analytics warehouses are an important part of getting that data out, but with that sort of robustness and rigor that transparency so typically warrants. And then underneath all that, and this is probably quite unique to Oracle compared to other vendors, we've got the whole of this technology layer, which provides us with that support. Now, being an advanced user of PowerPoint, I have overlaid, Mike, what the Link group are actually using in that area of it. So from a journey point of view, there's plenty more for you to look at in the future. So the future is bright for for that possibility. But yeah, you're primarily using ERP strategy. And for those of you who can recall the schematic diagram, you probably saw a lot of information going to the red box, which was Oracle, and that side of that's probably the ERP or enterprise resource planning. But probably the scope of this sort of conversation is really around the connected planning. So I probably just wanted to really drill into a little bit more about the enterprise performance management and sort of illustrate that a little bit more for you, albeit at a headline level, really. Data is at the heart of so much of what we do here at Oracle. And if you look at the representation or the image on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see financial data, but it's not just financial data. It's information coming from operations, from IT, from marketing, and increasingly for information coming outside the organization. But all that helps in various ways. We were really talking about a planning. Mike talked to a planning horizon, long-term plans of 30 years hence. And that's an excellent point you made there, Mike, about sort of, it's not like the lifespan of a mobile phone, is it? This is someone's house. This is their fabric, which will help them, help them in their long lives. But also, obviously, from a financial point of view, there are aspects of closing the books and potentially for bigger organizations consolidating that. Reporting and having that sort of analytics is a sort of part of a continuous improvement cycle, really. So getting the information out, is the data showing you what you expect it to see? If it's not, what are we going to do about it? So can we outperform with our intelligence? And a thing which we increasingly see with organizations is quite a sort of fragmented structure of systems in place. So actually that sort of data synchronization or the alignment of that enterprise data is quite important. So those aspects are particularly important for us. When we talk about connected planning, I mean, this is based on this is the EPM solution, one aspect of the EPM solution. And what I'm showing you here is sort of perhaps on the left-hand side, a more traditional finance-centric process, financial planning, often done by the FP&A organization, or in my terms, management accountants, whatever you choose to call that. But, often, finance wanting to get their sort of budgets and allocations together. Extremely important. So I'm not undermining that at all. But actually, fill out this spreadsheet, the supply chain, fill out spreadsheet HR. So not really thinking about how the HR or the sales or the marketing functions might need to plan and how they would move forward. And I think, Mike, we talked about the sort of the maintenance aspect of it, the sort of retrofitting, the improvement aspect of it. All these things are happening outside of that. So what we're seeing is a much more move, perhaps to a more connected planning in a much more agile way, which is really where we get to this operational planning, or perhaps even the term sort of integrated business planning, where absolutely finance is a sort of stakeholder, but we're planning in a language and in a terminology and using the capabilities that are relevant to the marketing or relevant to the HR and supply chain aspect of it. So, in the way that the operational data flows through to financials, the planning data can also flow through to the financials. And that's quite an important part of obviously what we're striving to do there. And Mike, when you started talking about the journey, I thought the journey is a great analogy, because I think for many of us, we're often on a journey, and we hope that Oracle can support people on that journey with that sort of capability we have across applications. The very same solution we have that we look for our planning and budgeting is also underpinning the move to environmental reporting, and I think that was very clearly a key driver for you, Mike, in that area of it. So how we're bringing in environmental, social, and governance data into one area. It's using all the rigor and robustness we have, perhaps around some of the financial aspect, like financial close, but it's trying to give us that sort of confidence in the data that might be coming typically from third-party systems now, or other data sources in the area. So I like to sort of a journey and a plan for the future, and future proofing. I mean, we very much hope, even at this just one picture of the totality of Oracle, that the aspect is very good. Well, if you don't mind, I just want to finish on this last slide, really, because the sort of the picture that Mike has painted and the story he's painted is obviously from the Link group, and that's obviously a sort of housing services group. But actually, these solutions don't just they resonate outside of just housing groups as well. So anyone on the call who's not in that area, these solutions are sort of cross industry, and I really just wanted to share just a few examples of some of those successes which we have in there. So you can see on this slide quite a lot of capability. So if you're thinking this is, oh, hang on, this is a solution for a housing association, yes, it is, but it could equally be a solution for a healthcare or retail or media and comms with various proof points. So I just wanted to lift the lid on it. I hope that's given you a bit of an insight into the sort of underlying technology, which is perhaps helping Mike and the team there at Link Group continue having success in the past and hopefully success in the future. So unless there's any questions, Paul, I'll hand it back to you.
Okay, so yes, I certainly do have. There's a couple, Simon. Let's start with the. Hopefully not too taxing for you. So the question that's come from the floor is: so we're using an ERP solution. They've given a name, but let's assume it's either an SAP or an Infor or another provider. Sorry to use bad language in front of you, but we're using another ERP. Could we still use the Oracle EPM solution, even though we don't have any other Oracle applications in our suite at this point?
Okay, yeah. Thanks very much indeed. It's always great to get that sort of question. Short answer, yes. Okay, slightly a longer answer to give that sort of context of it. Yeah, you can use this. The advantage that the likes of Link Group have, because they're using some of our applications already, they've got that sort of seamless and confidence in the data flowing from those operational systems, which gives you that confidence and that sort of drill back transparency almost in the data. But the architecture of many of the systems, the architecture of our applications, as well as our performance management solutions, is very much designed to be open. So we spend the time integrating solutions so you don't have to. When you buy Oracle, you get a much bigger 1 + 1 = 3 kind of value of it. But yeah, the system is very open to bring in information. And to be fair, if you looked at Mike's schematic slide, I saw some other vendors. So and increasingly for the likes of ESG, it's not just financial data; it's bringing environmental data, so potentially social data. So yeah, it's a very open system in that regard.
In fact, Mike, I think is it called Arion or something like that, which you use as your kind of like management, property management type solution? Is that? Yeah,
so that is a lot of the case management for housing specifically. Yeah. But it does what it does well, but it doesn't have sort of some of the wilder shores and more sophisticated capabilities that, for example, Oracle provides out of the box.
Smashing. So I've got we've kind of got to our point, and to good. I mean, Simon will appreciate that, I know, as Mike will, in terms of the project delivered together with Mastek. So true to form, Mastek is on time to budget at the moment, which means we have chance for a few questions as well. So Mike, I have one for you. What were the 3 critical factors that ensured successful delivery of that phase 1 of the project?
I think taking one step back, it's almost making the right decision, but we couldn't know that until we set ourselves some milestones. So for example, we thought, can we capture the data? Can we collect and capture the data so we can do something with it, i.e. we can understand through the tools and the delivery that we could get context of our data and understand new things that we couldn't do through Excel or any other sort of less process. So that was what we expected to achieve, and that's one of the things we did achieve. And at the same time, we needed to be able to curate the information so that we need to kind of join it up and make sure that piece of data A and piece of data B were sort of the sole source, the master sources of the data. So the whole journey of the operational flow of the data. It sounds like it's all about data, but it's not. It just happens to be the way that we see and consume information had to be in a portable way. So the second thing is really about the portability and the understanding of how we can leverage the context and the content. And the last thing would be the security of it, the curation part, as I said. So the idea that it's safely and reliably stored and reliably kept, so we can kind of reuse it as for analytics and for other purposes. But these were the 3 sort of big ticket edges, if you like, of success, and we achieved them all. But are keeping going with every one because our appetites increased.
Absolutely. I've got a few more questions coming in. I'm going to pick 2. Simon, I'll have one for you, and then we'll close with one for Mike. So Simon, the question comes in, you painted a picture of a more agile, connected planning process. You obviously did a good job there.
Good, excellent.
But we're still more about financial planning. Would the EPM solution be applicable?
Yeah, yes, yeah. I mean, these are very agile solutions. So, you know, I think the challenge we often see for most organizations, are interesting your poll results, really, but what we see is an awful lot of people in the area of planning and budgeting love spreadsheets. Yeah, I'm an accountant, I love spreadsheets. Okay, and the problem you have with spreadsheets is they're sort of so flexible, they can be used for so many different things. And I think what we're increasingly seeing is, and this is just a general trend, and it plays to Mike's comment about the sort of data-driven strategy they've almost had. You know, organizations are awash with lots of data, and they need to pull that data together. Now, if the data really is just financial data for financial planning to get your sort of budgeting, your outturn or your latest forecast or your sort of plan for the year, so much shorter time frames than Mike was talking about in the long term, then you know, you can use it in that particular capacity. You can bring it together. What I like, taking the journey analogy from Mike as well, is if you want to evolve, it'll help you on that particular journey. It's not going to hinder you. It's not going to be a sort of technology barrier you're going to hit on that side of it. It can do both. It's got a range of flexibility and other use cases as well. So it's not just planning and budgeting. It can help with your forecasting. It's got embedded AI in it as well. So you can use it for an awful lot of powerful options, as well as other activities like reconciliation in the finance function as well. So so quite a big capability in that area.
Okay. Mike, I'll probably put it into two questions. I know there are some others here. We'll feed back. I'm conscious of time, so we'll feed back some of those in a response piece. But two sort of areas to look at. Firstly, getting the business to engage in the program in the first place. I know you've been a program manager for a long time, and getting the business, particularly financial people, it's month end. I've got to get my month end close done. You're not going to get me on that project. So, getting the people engaged at the right sort of time. And then secondly, lessons learned from that first phase that you think will mean that subsequent phases will be a lot more easy to deploy.
Okay, so I mean, for me, the first aspect there is the idea that to be aware of what resources we really needed, and what resources we needed when, and at the same time factor in what I sometimes describe as the rocks, which means we knew that we'd have downtime in terms of resource availability because of things like our SME availability, because of things like year end or month end. We knew that for financial SMEs we needed to kind of be mindful of their time, and also mindful of the way they think, and try to communicate in a way that they understand, and listen to them with two ears, if you like. One, them telling us the pain points, and us at the same time thinking, well, what can we do about the pain point, and when can we do that? So paying attention to that, listening to that, taking it seriously as part of the opportunity to absorb what's been told, and at the same time absorb the art if possible to make that change. Your second question is kind of easier in terms of the idea is we learned lessons that we could trust investing in these globally credible tools, because they are globally credible, and we could trust in them, and we can trust that we could afford them and be prudent spenders of public sector money, public sector funds, because we could see from due diligence and then beyond into implementation that we had every reason to expect a milestone to be met, and we have every reason to expect to take seriously our plans because they were being met, and on a sort of day-to-day, week-to-week, quarter-to-quarter basis, depending on the scope of the requirement. So we learned that, and we also learned that therefore we could continue to be equally ambitious with our development strategy and our technology strategy, if you like. But it's really,
you kind of know that, having done it once, the next time, as you say, you've learnt the lesson, so it's not so much of a challenge. You will understand those pitfalls, and as you can say, you can maybe be more aggressive with timescales. You can add further expansion in KPIs if the legislation in Scotland suddenly changes, you've already got a platform that is easily adaptable to be able to move for the future. So
yeah, I mean, we know that regulation is always coming.
Yeah.
And we know that just as much as we know that the sun and the rain are always coming,
Yeah.
we just can't necessarily predict how many hours of rain we're going to get, but we can predict we better sort of a roofing, because if we don't, we're going to wish we had. So
the only thing you didn't mention there was taxes, Mike, but we know they're coming as well. So no, great. Look, I'd like to say thank you both to Mike and Simon for giving up your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. I also like to thank the delegates and everybody who've joined. I hope you've found that a very useful session. If there are any other questions, certainly I'll feed them back through Mike and Simon. We will obviously be recording, or the session has been recorded, so we'll have some playback and additional documentation for you. We'll also, and Simon, you mentioned about the polls, we'll definitely come back and include that as part of the collateral spend that comes out as well. And I'd also just like to extend out to, if there are people there interested in other aspects of the enterprise platform that Oracle has. We're running another of similar type webinar of these during July as well. So keep a lookout for that. And we look forward to speaking with you all again soon. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.